Karibu sana Bwana Dorphan.
Asante sana. Shukran. Is the mic on? Can I be heard? Nanisikia? Okay, so yeah, I think this has been brilliant, right? It has been very insightful, and I think eye-opening, and then very diverse too. You know, which you don't get very often. I think personally, as an artist, you know, I feel like there's a lot that has to be done. And I think as artists, one thing that has been a huge problem is that the work sort of precedes the policies, right? Most of the time. So it's like we've been working at this, and then we know our work, we know our job, but the policies, because we are not the people making the policies now, becomes very disjointed because the people who are making the policies are not practitioners of the job we do. And I think part of that also comes from our education system, you know, where we have an education system that produces more critics and teachers of art than it does, you know, produce creatives and innovators and practitioners, you know. So we have more critics than we have producers of art, right? And that's a huge gamble because I think it should be the other way around. There should be more the people who there should be room for artists to be viewed as professionals. But I think that's a fight we all have to fight, you know. And because personally, I've had to affirm my value. It's like every time I'm stepping on stage, I have to affirm my value. I have to affirm my voice. I have to affirm, you know, my position as an artist, as a professional artist, as a professional, you know. And because people feel like, you know, this is a by the way. Most of the times, everything else is sorted out, and then, you know, oh, we needed an artist here, we need an artist there, and so when you're coming in as an extra, you know, as an extra in a cast, and then it means you have to most of the time settle for less. And I think that's a fight we're fighting, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. So yeah, I thought I felt like I needed to say that. So for the piece that I'm doing, this year in particular is gonna, this year and probably toward all the way towards next year is gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of Dorphans coming up. You know, like being born and who are being born and will be born. And I'm saying a lot of Dorphans because I am a child of a teenage mother. And this year in particular has predisposed a lot of young girls to be mothers. You know, with all that time, you know, in quarantine, and then, you know, the implications of that is gonna see a lot of kids coming up, you know, bringing up kids, right? And for me, so my mom had me when she was 13. She didn't get into 20. By the time she was hitting 20, she was gone. You know, she was gone. Like, because, and I think when I think about it, it's because part of that is that once a girl becomes a mother, they're no longer girls anymore. Like, when girls become mothers, they become women. Like, that's, you know, in society, that's how we view it. But for a girl who's not a mother yet, even if you're in your 30s, you're still a girl, right? But if you get a child at 10, you become a mother, and that's how society views you. You're a woman now. And I think that's a huge injustice, because the reason why those girls end up becoming mothers is because of the failures, the failures in our social order, right? And so when I feel like one of the most radical acts I've ever had to do was telling a personal story. You know, of course, I will address the politics of the day in such a radical way, but I feel like the genesis of a lot of this, you know, dysfunction starts from home, right? Because we never really talk about that. It's hush, hush, and let's move on. It's uncomfortable for us. And for me, having to tell my mother's story was probably the most radical act I've ever had to do. Because I knew, even now I know it's uncomfortable for my family members, But I was in a position where I felt like I didn't care about hurting people's feelings. If that's all I needed, if that's what I needed to do. And I think that's the one thing we have to take home. Like, we cannot worry about hurting people's feelings. Because what if those people are doing things, actions that whose ripple effects come to hurt our lives, not just our feelings, but our lives physically, implicate our professional life, implicate our social life, implicate our economic life, implicate our political life. So we cannot worry about hurting their feelings when they're implicating every aspect of our lives, and we're keeping silent about it. I'm a product of a very dysfunctional family. And one thing I came to learn is that dysfunction thrives in secrecy and silence. When people keep quiet, then that allows for that dysfunction to grow and become this, this mess that we don't even know what it is anymore. And I think that's pretty much the same with this country and the world in general. The silence, the secrecy, that's what is killing us. We are hurting, but we're not speaking up. So, we're talking about mental health more now. And that's because there's no collective ownership. There's no collective responsibility. So, this piece is Mum Aliishia. And this is in celebration of all the young mothers and all the children who've had to grow in that space where, I'm a product of the margins. I'm a child who's born out of wedlock, and you're born of a young mother. You're a child of the margins. And as an artist, I'm a person of the margin. I'm a professional of the margins. Like, I walk the margins every day of my life because there's no space for me, within the actual system. We're talking about the system, right? But there's no space for the artist within the system. We have to keep on fighting to find our place and our position in there. So we are people of the margins. And so this is for all the people of the margins. And this is for us to reflect, and imagine what we can do about the future, about to change this, because it's happening. It's here. Now more than ever. Niliulizia, nikaambiwa Mum Aliishia. Nilikuwa sad, sikuimbiwa. So Mum Aliishia. Sitaki kujudge juu sijui reason Mum Aliishia. Ni birthday yangu leo. Yet another reason ya kumiss mom this year. Na kupeleka 92. Previous year nilikuwa only 2. Place ni Timao, base Kambia Karao, usiniulize ni how. Chalia mother then alikuwa ni Karao. Hiyo ni after wameachana na Mbuyu, if ever washawahi kwa pamoja. Ama ilikuwa tu blanda under, influence ya booze kuhit under the belt. After belt kwa lose kuanguka kotoja. Break up after breaking news, tu ni mwezi moja after na period imehata. Sa hizo mini embryo nishaanza kuform. Impulse za mother kwa system zinani-inform ni kubaya nje. Chances za Mbuyu kuchukua responsibility bado ni finje. Statistics na point kwa possibility ya miko brought up na single mom. Noise maker tangu speech bado hajaform, but kwa uterus nimeshikilia mbili kwa cord kama mic nategea tani yangu ya kuperform. Defying the short sight ya kuchukua the easy way out, yenye ngeniacha ndani ya paperback somewhere kwa dump site. Mother amechoose to go strong. About 40 weeks down the line, June 1st, 1989, Madaraka Day imegeuka Labor Day kwake. Kemi 3 kwa hewa. Amebarikiwa na mvulana na believe ilikuwa ni furaha kubwa sana kwake. Noma ni eti yeni den ampata mtoto nje ya ndoa na bado ana hustle. But familia kina baba mtoto ina uwezo, so naelewa ilikuwa tu hivyo wise kupeana mtoto kwa babake. Only that decades later, mtoto ni mtu mzima na bado anahangaika jua vile ingekuwa kaangelewa na mamake. Bali ya kuishi na baba wako wewe juana jua aliacha uzazi ufanywe na mama na babake. Still pictures kwa album hazitoshi kushikanisha hizi dashed memories. abandoned too early, and wanakata Wygate could recover his hashed history. Wakati whereabouts a mother maybe a skeleton stashed for cemetery. No wonder sometimes you feel like he's just another babysitting. Yota then mother akiwa babysitting mostly kwa ni dadake mdogo aliachiwa. Maswali nayo tena kibao. But alishasari kusaka answers just in case ya wesosia more pain yakijibiwa. Niliulizia, nikaambiwa Mum Aliishia. Nilikuwa sad sikuambiwa. Mum Aliishia. Sitaki kujudge juu sijui reason Mum Aliishia. The birthday yangu leo. Yet another reason ya kumiss Mum this year.
Asante sana Bwana Dorphan for that very, very introspective performance.